I'm going to teach you something that will 100% improve every single area of your social media marketing from this day forward. If you want to learn how to create truly profitable, powerful, and effective social media marketing campaigns, then you need to understand that it's not about the tactics, the tools, the software, or even the networks or channels themselves, but rather the fundamental marketing principles and strategies behind these that is what truly makes them effective. And that's why in this episode, I'm going to be breaking down some of the most important tips and information that I can think of sharing with you that I've learned after nearly a decade of running and owning a digital marketing agency. So with all that said, let's get to it. Hey there, my name is Erhart, marketing strategist, and welcome to The Marketing Show. All right, you can't talk about social media marketing without talking about marketing. After all, it is the key component of social media, and yet this is where so many businesses go so wrong. They get caught up in the latest and greatest tips and tricks and hacks and all the shiny objects, and they end up completely avoiding or completely neglecting those core fundamental principles, those strategies, and the real fundamentals that are what truly allows some businesses to thrive and have just amazing success with social media, and others, I would say the vast majority, to just struggle or barely break even. And that's why the first thing that we need to talk about here, and probably the single most important element that I could hope to convey to you, is the fact that social media marketing is all about marketing. Now, I recorded this in a video a lot of years ago on what is digital marketing. And the premise of the video, if you haven't seen it yet, is that digital marketing is just marketing using digital tools. Well, that exact same principle, that exact same analogy applies here in that what is social media marketing? Well, it's just marketing using social media as the tools. This is why you can't just go out there and try to learn the latest Instagram hack or YouTube hack or Twitter or Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is without knowing those principles, those marketing fundamentals behind it. That's what really separates the amateurs from the pros, and those people who are able to create the multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns, and others who struggle to just break even or potentially even just lose a whole lot of time and then swear off social media completely, saying it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and nothing works. And the reality is that the underlying strategies are probably the elements that didn't work rather than marketing or rather than social media itself. That's why this part is going to seem pretty overwhelming, especially if you're brand new to the world of marketing or to social media. There's no real quick, easy win here. You're going to have to spend a little bit of time in the trenches, learning about things like positioning and segmentation and differentiation and pricing strategy, how to build a marketing funnel and direct response principles and copywriting, and on it goes. And I understand if you're just hearing all those terms for the first time, it can seem overwhelming, but I assure you, no matter where you're at in your marketing journey, you can absolutely learn the fundamentals and the principles just by placing one step after another, building it brick by brick. You see, that is one of the biggest differentiators between people who are able to go out there and seem to have success on any social media platform that they approach, and others struggle and they flip-flop and they kind of hop from all sorts of different social media networks to another one. The reality is it's not the best social media player per se on different channels, but rather the best marketer who is leveraging the social media to its fullest capacity. Now, of course, you do need to have a pretty deep knowledge of whatever social media platform you're choosing to go out there and to leverage. For example, there's very different personalities and tone and style between Facebook and Instagram, or between LinkedIn and YouTube. So you do have to understand the nuances, and you have to understand how the market and how the audience interacts with content on the platforms, as well as understanding the algorithms and how they're structured to deliver certain content and hide other content or hold it back. But none of that matters. None of it is even the least bit important if it's not built on that strategic foundation of marketing principles. After all, one of the most important things you can know in marketing, we're going to talk about this more in just a minute, is making sure that you have alignment between your message, your market, and whatever media choice that you're using. For example, we could talk all day about the best Instagram strategy ever. But if you really deep dive into your target market and into your business, you may realize that Instagram is the completely wrong channel for you, and you'd be way better served by going to YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever else, because you always want to go where your ideal target market is active and present. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You see, the key to succeeding with social media is, first of all, understanding that the key component to it is the marketing part. Again, when we spell out social media marketing, we really have to emphasize the marketing. But once that's done, once you have that intrinsic knowledge, once you've got the fundamentals down, well, it's time to take a look at the second part of social media marketing, which is the social part. One of the biggest mistakes that I see business owners or entrepreneurs or even digital marketers make when it comes to social media is neglecting the social aspect of it. After all, it's called social media, not selling media. You see, when it comes to social media, depending on the network, depending on the platform, but most people simply don't log in with a credit card in hand ready to buy. For example, Instagram, not really a shopping platform. Neither's Facebook, neither's YouTube. Neither's LinkedIn. These are social networks where people go to consume information, to connect with friends, to possibly get the news, to consume content of all different kinds, whether it's audio or video or even text. Also, as social media has embedded itself into our everyday lives, well, we start to understand what people are using it authentically, what brands and businesses, I should say, are using it authentically and ethically, and in order to actually help and to serve their customers rather than to simply just shove products down their throats, trying to sell at every single opportunity they get. This is where businesses go so wrong. If you're using social media as a selling media only, you're not going to make it work, especially if we're using and we're talking exclusively about organic media. But again, we're going to talk about organic versus paid in a bit here. You see, you really can't fake the attitude or the tone or the beliefs that you've got when you're creating that kind of content. For example, if your sole purpose is to go out there and to hawk your products on the masses, people are going to tell. They're not silly, they're not naive, they know what's going on. They understand when they see a business only talking about their products and their services and how great they are. People know what's going on. They know you're just trying to sell them stuff. And there's nothing wrong with trying to sell people stuff. After all, that's how business works. But there is something wrong with only trying to sell people stuff, always trying to promote the business's agenda first, and really just treating people like a means to an end. This is why you really want to make sure that when you're crafting a social media marketing strategy, your primary focus should be on giving as much value as possible. There's a ton of reasons for this, but a big one is actually kind of self-serving, and it's all about the law of reciprocity. Essentially, when you do good stuff for people, well, they feel more inclined to do good stuff back for you. This is why it's great to create as much free content as you possibly can. Whether you believe in cause and effect or karma or the golden rule or whatever, it's kind of irrelevant here, because the reality is, if you put a ton of good stuff out into the marketplace, you really seek to serve and to help people, it's going to come back in some way, shape, or form. Plus, you get bonus points if you're able to do this from a real and authentic and genuine position rather than just trying to game the system. For example, if you're plotting out just how much value to give away before you can extract some value back to the market, again, the market is not naive. They're going to know what you're doing and they're going to be able to see through it. So make sure that when you're creating content, when you're producing stuff for social media, you're doing it authentically and ethically, and you're doing it in order to provide the most value to the most amount of people, or at least to your ideal target market. There's another benefit that happens here as well when you're going out there trying to create content, trying to help as many people as possible through the use of social media, and that's something called the law of preeminence, which was crafted by J. Abraham. Phenomenal philosophy where essentially your goal should be to try to become your customer or your client's most trusted advisor. You see, in a lot of different fields, whether we're talking about legal or financial or whatever, there's something known as a fiduciary, which is a fancy word for essentially saying that they have to act in your best interest. This is incredibly rare, and it certainly doesn't exist in the business and in the marketing world, which means that if you can make it your mission, your duty to actually become your customers or your client's fiduciary, even if just in a symbolic sort of way, but where your intent is really to act in their best interest, again, people are going to be able to tell, and you're going to quickly become your clients and your customers' most trusted advisor and the person that they go to first and probably only. After all, it's not much of a stretch to imagine that if you've got two different options to choose from, are you going to go from the person who you know is just trying to sell you stuff, or are you going to go to the person who's giving you a ton of value and you know always acts in your best interest? They're always making recommendations and suggestions and providing products and services that are going to help you. Not themselves, you. I mean, sure, they might get help later and they might make some revenue or some profits from the transaction, but that's not their primary goal, and you can tell. But as if that wasn't enough, there's actually another benefit to this approach and to this philosophy of really putting social at the forefront of your social media marketing. And that is that it eliminates one of the most toxic, one of the most damaging, and one of the most profit-repelling elements in all of marketing today: neediness. Nothing repulses clients or customers faster. Nothing reduces your ability to make a sale or to convince someone to do something than being needy, by looking whiny or desperate or like you're relying on them to save your business or save your life. Nothing is going to do worse things for your business than that. So you need to eliminate it from every single area of your marketing possible, period. Seriously, from this day forward, we need to eliminate any sense of neediness from all of your marketing and all of your sales. Your marketing will become immediately 10 times more effective just by acting in a position of authority, acting as a fiduciary, acting in your customer's best interest, and understanding and appreciating the value that you have and the value that you provide as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a marketer. And really, it has to be that mutually beneficial relationship where you can go out there and you can act in your customer's best interest by delivering a product or service that you know is going to provide value to them, but it's kind of up to them to take it or leave it. You're going to be fine either way. And that's probably the main point that I want to leave you with on that note, is that it's really going to be in their best interest to do business with you, to make the purchase, to take you up on your offer. But you, as the business owner or entrepreneur, you're going to be fine either way. Now, I appreciate if you're brand new in business, this is a really tough one to take on. And I know that if I look back a decade ago when I was first getting started in the marketing game and in business, well, admittedly, I was needy. I needed the business in order to put food on the table and gas in the car. But I also learned the strategy very early on. So I never conveyed that, or at least I did my best, to not show neediness and to show a position of authority and of power and of that I truly had something of value that the other party would benefit from. I don't like to use the term fake it till you make it, but in this sense, maybe a little. I mean, you don't want to convey that neediness, so whatever it's going to take for you to wipe it away from all of your marketing, I'm cool with. Anyway, fast forward to today, and I'm actually in a position where I'm not needy, so it does become a lot easier to do. But kind of that chicken or egg debate. Which one comes first? Pretending you're not needy, actually not being needy? Regardless, just don't be needy. Don't make it look like you're needy. You're going to do just fine. All right, the next important element to talk about when it comes to creating those truly effective social media marketing campaigns and social media marketing plans, kind of already referenced this before, but it's worth going into a little more here, and that is prioritizing strategy over tactics. You see, when it comes to the tactical elements of social media, these are going to be things like what day of the week should you post and what time of the day should you post, and should your image be formatted in a square or a landscape or a portrait or whatever else. All of that stuff is really surface level. It's really tactical, and you can also Google it at any time and get the answer very quickly. That, my friend, is the easy stuff, like the really, really easy stuff. Stuff that you can find out in a heartbeat and stuff that you can outsource or get someone to help you with for really, really inexpensive. The hard stuff, however, is the strategy. It's the who, the what, the where, the when, the why of the marketing. It's really figuring out who the market is, what their pains and problems are, how you're going to position your offer, how it's differentiated from your competitors, whereabouts you fit in the total competitive landscape. All of that stuff takes some real deep strategic thinking. And that's why it's up to you as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, or as the marketing strategist to figure all that stuff out first before resorting to the how, which is the what to post, the how to post, the when to post, stuff like that. So seeing as things like how to upload a YouTube video or how to create a LinkedIn article or how to get an Instagram story up, seeing as all those are easy, tactical things that you can just Google and find the answer for very quickly, we're going to leave that behind. Rather, we're going to dive into the weeds of the strategy behind effective social media marketing campaigns. So let's start that now. All right, so the very first thing is the who. This is the ideal target market, and this is really the main core concept of any effective marketing campaign today. Everything gets built around the who or around that ideal customer avatar. There's a lot to be said here, so we're going to save it for just a minute. The next thing is the what. The what is all about what you're selling and also what your business model is. The what is also comprised of the pain or the problem or the frustration that your business is uniquely positioned to solve for your customer. So you really need to dive in deep into that in order to figure out your messaging and your offer and how you're going to structure it accordingly. The when is all about when you're going to post. Now, I'm talking less about the tactical thing about like what time of day and what day of the week and things like that, and rather how your social media strategy fits into your overall marketing campaign. Sort of like what kind of resources and time and energy and money are you going to be devoting to social media? And my blanket takeaway here, or suggestion, is that the time is pretty much now. If you have an idea for something, you need to post it, and you can let the algorithm sort out who's going to see it and when they're going to see it and which are the best people for them to show it to, and so on. After all, the algorithms over the years have gotten so much smarter, which means that you don't have to be the censor as much as you used to be. We used to back in the day, which makes me sound super old, but the reality is that back in the day we did have to filter and censor all of our content. We had to pick the best pieces of content and only put those forward. Now, if you've got an idea for a piece of content, my suggestion is just put it out there. The algorithm is going to decide whether it's good or whether it's not, and if it's not good, trust me, it's just not going to show it to that many people. But that's a good thing because it wasn't that good, and it'll reserve your best content and show more of that. So either way, you're in pretty good hands. All right, the next strategic element is the where. And this is also incredibly important, so we're going to talk about this more in just a minute, but this really comes down to identifying and selecting the absolute best social media network and channel for you and your business. Again, more on that in just a second. All right, after that, we have the why. Now, what we're talking about here when we're looking at a social media marketing campaign from a really strategic point is trying to identify the goals and the KPIs or the key performance indicators that let us know whether we're successful or not. So the big question here is, why are you doing this? Are you doing it simply because you feel the need to do it? Are you doing it because you read in a book somewhere that it was really important? Did you maybe watch one of my videos and I convinced you to try a different network or a different strategy? Whatever it is, what is the reason? Why are you doing what you're doing? Once that's done, you can start to really dial in on what are your goals and what are you looking to achieve. One of my favorite questions here is, how will you know whether or not you were successful? After all, it's way too easy to just waste a ton of time and money and energy on social media doing all sorts of random busy work that really doesn't lead anywhere. So you have to decide where you want to go, and that way you can measure and you can track the metrics and the analytics, and you can decide all right, this is what I wanted to do, this is how I did it work, or did it not? Now, if your goal is really simple and you just want to get the word out about your business or increase brand awareness, then you can use organic social media, meaning any kind of free social media, which basically is just not running paid ads for. On the other hand, if you're trying to generate leads, you're trying to make sales, or some other direct response aspect, you're going to want to use paid advertising. We'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, so that was the what, the when, the where, the why. I think that's everything. So we have the how, which of course is the tactical stuff. The things like how you upload a video, how you create an Instagram post, how to write an article on LinkedIn, all of the easy stuff, which is going to become significantly easier once you've got all the strategic elements in place. Now, appreciate we glanced over a couple things really quickly, like the who and things like that. So let's talk about that now, starting with the who, which is that ideal target market. Whether we're talking about social media marketing or any kind of marketing at all, it's all about the customer. This is because the key to success with creating an effective marketing campaign is really dialing in on exactly who it is that you're trying to serve, that ideal target market. That perfect person that loves you, loves what you do, wants to tell everybody about just how great you are, and comes back time after time after time, will stay with you forever, and really contributes to the overall success of your business. So how do you figure out who this person is? Well, you're going to want to identify them in one of three different areas. The first of which is the demographic details. These are kind of the stereotypical things that we think of when we're talking about an ideal target market. Something like a person's age, gender, income, occupation, title, anything like that. The really easy, targetable, and identifiable aspects. Next up, we have their geographic details, like what city or state or province or country, or maybe even what neighborhood or street that they live on. And then lastly, we have psychographic details, like what are their attitudes, their interests, their beliefs, their organizations, their groups, their affiliations, basically all the things that they think, how they go about their day, and all the stuff that isn't immediately apparent when we're looking at the basic stuff that most people do, which is kind of those demographic details. From there, you want to take it a step further and start taking a look at their miracles and their miseries. Their miracles are going to be things like their wants and their dreams and their desires and their aspirations and all of the things they're trying to move towards. And their miseries are all their fears and their problems and their frustrations and their nightmares and all of the pains they're trying to move away from. Now, the key here is to understand that your business's goal is to serve as the bridge over that gap that moves them away from all the bad stuff and towards all the good stuff. The better that you're able to zero in and identify your ideal customer avatar's wants and dreams and desires and fears and pains and frustrations, the better you're going to be able to craft really compelling and really good marketing material that resonates with them and makes them feel heard and understood. If you get this part right, if you really dial in on your ideal customer avatar, really figure out what makes them tick, everything else falls into place. But if you get this part wrong, you don't identify them correctly, or you identify the wrong type of people, or the wrong pain, or the wrong problem, or anything like that, well then nothing's gonna work, because even if you put a message directly in front of them, it's probably gonna be the wrong one. Okay, so now that we've got that part covered, let's talk about the where. Because there's no point in spending a ton of time and money and energy on social media doing all sorts of different work on a platform or a channel or a network where none of your ideal customer avatar are even present or active. I call that the marketing wasteland, and it is the biggest time suck that you could possibly imagine. After all, why are you there if none of your people are there? So let's fix that now. First of all, there's a piece of advice that's floating around that I believe is well-intentioned, but probably misguided for the majority of entrepreneurs and business owners. And that's the advice that you need to be everywhere, and you need to do everything, and you need to do it all the time. Again, this sounds great in theory, but the problem is when we put it to practical application, most people simply don't have the time, the money, or the energy to be everywhere and do everything. I know this is a strategy I tried years and years ago, and it quickly led to exhaustion and overwhelm, not to mention really quickly diminishing returns, because the reality is that your business, probably much like mine, is going to have a few key channels, a few key networks where the majority of your best customers are active and present on, and then a ton of different networks or channels where none of them are active or present or on. So why would you go there? This is why the key element here is to pick your channel wisely. You want to find that match between you, your business, and your ideal target market. Fortunately, this is incredibly easy because once you've identified that ideal customer avatar, and you do have the basics of their demographic details like age and gender, for example, you can just go to Google and you can type in the age and the gender, and you can find out what social media networks are most popular with that group. Seriously, it's that easy. Once you've got that figured out, well, you do want to add another layer of complexity to it, which is content style. After all, when it comes to social media, there are a ton of different options available, and each one is going to favor or prioritize a different content style. For example, some networks are going to favor and prioritize video, YouTube probably being the best example where it's all video. Some networks are going to prioritize audio. Think of podcasts. And then some networks are going to heavily prioritize text. Think of Twitter, maybe LinkedIn. Then you're going to have kind of that gray area in the middle, places like Instagram and Facebook, which are going to be a bit of a mix and a blend of everything. Going to be some text, there's going to be some graphics, some images, some video as well. The key here is to find one that allows you to communicate in a content style that works best for you. For example, if you don't mind being on video, well then you can pretty much have your pick. You can do Instagram, you can do Facebook, you can do YouTube, you can even upload videos to LinkedIn. If, on the other hand, the thought of talking to a camera sounds terrifying or just completely unappealing, don't worry about it. There's a lot of other options. You could create text-based posts, you can do images with captions, you can write out content, you can even speak out content, have it transcribed into text, and then you can post it anywhere. Or if you don't want to do any of that, you just want to talk to people, well then a podcast is an amazing tool because it allows you to just have a conversation or conduct an interview, and that becomes the core driver and the core content for your business. Okay, so how many social media networks should you be involved in? Well, my advice here, especially if you're kind of waffling back and forth and trying to figure out the best strategy, is to choose one primary channel and one secondary or supporting channel. For example, my primary channel, at least right now, is YouTube. That said, I do have a secondary or supporting channel, which is Facebook, because given between kind of Facebook and YouTube, I can reach the majority of my ideal target market there. Back in the day, I did YouTube, I did Facebook, I did Instagram for a tiny bit, I did Twitter, I was on LinkedIn. I was trying everything, and what it led me to is just spreading myself way too thin when I realized that if I could just double down on the platforms or the channels where I was able to really kind of get my message out in the way that best suited me and best suited my market, everything started to really escalate and get, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Exponential returns. Contrast this with struggling across dozens of different channels, really trying to get traction, and it makes it really clear and really obvious that a lot of your time and your energy and your effort should be spent zeroing in on that ideal perfect channel that best aligns with your content style as well as your ideal target market. And then from there, adding a secondary channel to help drive more traffic or drive more awareness or reach people who just aren't on the other channel. But at the end of the day, there are going to be a couple constraints that you need to weigh against each other in order to help take your existing strategy and make it better, or help move you in the right direction for a new strategy. And that is the time versus money debate. One of the craziest and also one of the coolest things about marketing and about business and success in general is that as a human being, we all have the same 24 hours in any single day. Whether we're talking about somebody who's just starting up their business or a multi-billionaire who's at the peak of their success. Same 24 hours. This means that regardless of where you are on the spectrum of success, there's a strategy there for you, and it's going to be a balance between time and money, whether you have more time or whether you have more money. So let's start with the example of, let's say you have more time, less money. What do you do? Well, if you've got more time than money, then one of your best strategies here is to be focused on organic content, meaning anything that you don't have to pay for. So free Instagram posts, free Instagram stories, free Facebook posts, free YouTube videos, free LinkedIn articles, all the free stuff. Now, granted, the algorithms aren't really working in your favor, so they're going to limit the reach and the exposure that your content gets. But you can counteract this by creating more content. Also, you're going to have more time, so you're going to be able to make sure that the content that you do put out is of a really high quality. So if you've got more time, then the key here is more content and better content, and just keep that train rolling. On the other hand, if you've got more money than time, you're going to want to switch your focus away from organic and towards more paid media strategies. These are going to be things like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads. You get the picture. Basically anything with an ads or advertising after it is going to be a paid media choice. And this is going to enable you to throw gas on the fire and take your content and show it to a lot more people a whole lot quicker, but again, for some dollars. Also, if you do have more money than time, you are going to be able to hire someone to help you create the content or edit the content or upload the content or whatever else that it is. So you do have some options, whether you've got more time or you've got more money, there is a way for you to leverage a social media marketing strategy in your business and in your brand. Okay, so with all that said, what is the biggest obstacle that I see that prevents most businesses, whether we're talking about brand new businesses or 5-figure businesses or 6-figure businesses, 7-figure, even 8 and 9-figure businesses? This is something that I see across nearly all of them that prevents them from really reaching that next level of success with their marketing and with their social media. And that is thinking. All right, I admit, it's kind of hard for me to say to stop thinking when I've just made an entire episode on the importance of being strategic, of really thinking through everything. However, there does come a time and a place where you simply need to stop thinking. More accurately, stop overthinking. Stop overanalyzing, stop the paralysis by analysis, and just get something out there. If you've gone through this episode, if you've taken some notes, whether mentally or on paper, and you've decided, all right, this is my market, this is the network that I need to focus on, this is the content that I need to create, if you've got that far, then the next thing you need to do is to just get that post out, to hit record and upload that video, or create that story and set it free to the world. When a client comes to me with a brand new idea or a piece of content that they want to post and they're looking for confirmation or affirmations that it's the right piece, my answer is almost always the same. Yes, post it. Seriously, there is very little that I'll take a look at and say, maybe we shouldn't post it. Because the reality is that you need to feed the beast, and social media is a hungry, hungry beast. This is why anytime you've got an idea or inspiration or a piece of content or an article or a video or anything at all, just post it. I appreciate that if you're just getting started, those first few posts are some of the hardest. You're fearing the judgment. You're fearing what other people will think. You're fearing whether it's good enough or whether it's your best work. And the reality is that we'll never really know because quality is subjective. What's good to one person is terrible to another. For example, some people absolutely love the speed with which I talk. It's pretty fast. Other people, on the other hand, are always asking me to slow down or that they couldn't understand. Again, same speech, different opinions. So just be you. Deliver your content however you can. Always try to provide as much value as possible, and you really can't lose. Especially because the content that you're going to be creating moving forward and all of your social media marketing is going to be based on those proven marketing fundamentals, those principles and the strategies and everything that's going to ensure that you're building your content on the right strategic footing. So with all that said, the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here on Introduction to Marketing. So make sure to check that out now, and I'll see you in the next episode. As I fell in love with marketing years ago when I first got interested in figuring out why people buy and act the way they do, and later how to influence and